Hey there, friend! I think one of the coolest things about doing all of this self work and work on getting to know yourself is being able to track your progress and seeing how far you've come, like your own personal milestones and accomplishments. And I've been fortunate enough where I've kind of, I guess, been documenting myself for the past, gosh, since 2019. What, 6, 7 years? That's crazy. Yeah, because I started the podcast version of this in 2019. Um, or 2020, I don't know. It's been a very long time. And with that comes a lot of self-reflection. And within the past month or so, things have like really things have really revved up for me. And like I guess the caliber at which I'm doing this work. And I feel like I am both progressing at rapid speed while also feeling the most stagnant that I have ever felt. It's also really funny how metaphorical your environment can be as you're going through stuff like this. So last week we had a really big snowstorm here in New Jersey where we got a crap ton of snow, like more snow than we've gotten in a very long time. And while this was happening, I was home alone with my dog Charlie, and my mom and family were in St. Thomas, which is a tropical island. And as it's, raining down snow or raining down ice, honestly, at certain parts, I was getting Snapchats from my sister of the 80-degree weather and beautiful clear ocean that was in blue sky in front of her. And what I thought was really funny and the thing that kept popping into my mind was being able to create paradise exactly where I am. And let me tell you, it was really challenging. Like, I am a doer. I am not lazy, even though I have pegged myself as being lazy for the longest time. It's just things not working out in the moment, which is why I feel lazy. But anyway, more on that later. I was out like almost every other hour shoveling, and the snow was I had no place to put it, and it was getting so high that at one point it was starting to get to be as tall as I am. And like I'm not really a tall person. I'm like 5'3", 5'4", but it was kind of hard having to like hoist the snow up there, and that shit was heavy and I had to do it all by myself. But anyway, because of that, I wasn't able to really go anywhere cuz people don't really know how to drive in the snow, let alone without snow. So I was stuck home for 3 days, and it was so challenging. It's actually kind of very dramatic. It was very challenging because I was with myself and I kept trying to figure out ways to entertain me, satisfy me. Like, do I need to eat more food? Do I need to go watch another drawing tutorial? Do I need to go play a video game, do a puzzle? And I did everything. I read a bunch of books. I was doing puzzles, I was playing a bunch of video games, I had leftover sushi, which was amazing. And through this entire time, I was so anxious and just so like upset and uncomfortable. And it was so great because I had no choice but to be with it and stare at it. And it opened the door for a really big revelation, which was finding satisfaction and how I will not be able to find satisfaction in anything that I do. Period. Full stop. And it was really awesome to discover that. And I was reading a whole bunch of different books, one of them being the White Book from Ramtha. Dr. Joe pronounces it Ramtha. So, however it comes out of my mouth, please know that's what I'm referring to. And I also started reading The Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. I think that's the one. Um, and when I was reading the White Book, I had some pretty profound things happen. Like, there was a lot that he was talking about in the book that was very similar to my own process. He talked a lot about the wind and trying to control the wind. And at one point, I had this weird epiphany last year about not asking how do you control the wind, but rather what's it like to be the wind. And there was just too many weird similarities. And like I was reading it before bed, and I felt like my head was just wide open. And there was just this information and like frequencies pouring in, and then I couldn't sleep. So then I couldn't read it before bed because then it would cause these weird things to happen. And just so many weird things have been happening. I have this, oh God, I did this one tuning into new potential a whole bunch of times. And it's kind of crazy how it happened. I can't like really say much more on it because it's still unfolding, but let me tell you, this stuff is incredible. So it's just really funny how your ego tries to tell you where you're supposed to be, and how, like, when you are on this path, you're like, this is how it's going to be. And then things get shaken up, and it's like, no, there's a lot more here. So after looking at all of these patterns, I've realized how much I have an addiction to information. Definitely. I'm always looking things up, always trying to make sure things are perfect and not broken. I have an addiction to doing. I have a doer pattern, of course, naturally, where I'm constantly trying to do things, and if I'm sitting still, then it's quite literally hell for me because I get afraid of running out of time. Like, I want to be an artist. I've been practicing. I got colored pencils last week. And I started practicing with colored pencils because I thought that they were really cool. Oil pastels have been a lot of fun, but like I really want to learn how to draw like realism stuff. So in my mind, it's like, well, you've got to get to work, you got to do all this stuff. And I've also heard that you can drop into this mindset where, you know, you're able to hook on to that and you're able to kind of do it naturally. So I keep playing with stuff like that. And when you operate from a higher level of awareness, there is no time and things get drawn to you. And it's a really fun dance. And I have also made it work. Like a lot of the really cool things that have manifested for a lot of people, and Dr. Joe talks about this all the time, is when he's been in this state of like lightness and play instead of being so serious. Like I have gotten so serious to the point where, if I'm driving and somebody cuts me off, I start like muttering these things in my head and I'm like, Sarah, that's not very spiritual of you. I'm going to have to go home and do 3 generous present moments and a changing of beliefs and perception after the things that I've been thinking about this person. So I miss the lightness. I really do. And I catch myself now when I start to feel panic come through. And it's really funny too, because like I connect with my own spirit guides and connect with my higher self a lot. And the only way sometimes they're able to transfer energy into this meat suit is when I'm sleeping. And sleep has not been my friend for the past couple of weeks. Like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and my heart's racing and I'm like, I'm having a heart attack. And I look at my Garmin and it's at like, 62 beats per minute. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? These really strange and bizarre dreams and just pure panic sometimes for no reason whatsoever. It's kind of incredible how like the darkness can just bring up so much of, your own fears. It really is something. But anyway, one of the big things that has been coming up for me is my connection to myself and how important that has become for me. And also when I lose it, when I no longer am myself, I observe when I talk to other people and I look at when I throw my power away and when I try to make myself seem smaller, or like I try to poke fun at myself so I don't look like an asshole for asking for something. And I have been working greatly on boundaries and also asking for things too. Again, just things that I really didn't learn growing up because of just environmental things that I'm now actively as an adult working on doing and becoming, because I really would like to be a successfully functioning adult at some point who doesn't walk out of the house and feel like their insides are going to explode. And we are doing pretty good with that at the moment. One other thing that has been really like I've been thinking about a lot is exchanges of energy and also like this creation process. When I first started this channel, when I first started Hey There Friend as a whole, it was as a podcast. And it was from the lens of I want to show up as a friend that I needed growing up, who had all of this like sage-like wisdom and stuff and was always there for someone in case they needed it. My nickname in high school was Sarah Savior. I was always trying to save people because I wanted to be saved myself. And I love looking at how people go at things when they start and watching how they change as they kind of progress on. And then, the podcast went from a podcast to a YouTube channel. And it was great because I was into the Dr. Joe stuff. And I remember getting so excited to connect with other Dr. Joe people and also start to like, I don't want to say, I wanted to get known for doing all of this Dr. Joe work and sharing my experience. And as most people did in like, the early 2020s, they just wanted to get known on YouTube and stuff. And then for me, being able to potentially have ad revenue and stuff after leaving a job was also a big thing for myself as well. And it's been really interesting and albeit very uncomfortable and embarrassing looking back at where I started and like my tenacity to what I have evolved into right now and the things that I would have absolutely changed if I was doing it now. But that's the whole point because that's growth. That is the whole point of all of this is growth. And I have gotten to know myself so well and so intimately, which I love. And it has shown me where my performer pattern comes in. And I've had this performer for the entirety of my life, pretty much, because I have to perform to get people to like me in order for me to feel safe. Think about this, friend, in your own like life. When do you have to put on your performance mask in order to blend in with like a family group or a friend dynamic or something like that? Like you can't let your true self shine. And I remember at like the very, very beginning of all of this, I felt more connected to myself when it was just a podcast. You know, I was talking a lot about a lot of different things. And also at that point too, I hadn't done the Dr. Joe retreats as well. I didn't have this big burst of energy. Like I think back about when I first started doing this channel, I was making videos 7 days a week. I don't know where I got that energy from. And I think about this from time to time too. I don't know if you can think about this with things in your own life, friend, that like you did without you just kept going with it without stopping. And then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, you kind of get burnt out on it. And in trying to show up here consistently, I've been thinking about that too. Like, did I just get really lazy? Like, is it just because like did I get stupid from having like all of this expansion and awareness? Like, did they take away like my speaking abilities? I will say English is hard a lot of days for me sometimes. Like when I'm typing things, I have like a book idea. I have a trilogy that popped into my head that I've got to figure out how the heck is gonna manifest itself. But we'll see how that goes. Writing is just so weird for me sometimes, and words just don't word. Grammar doesn't grammar, and I want so badly to go back and like reteach myself everything from kindergarten, quite literally kindergarten, all the way through, because I miss being a better like writer and also a better speaker. And you don't use it, you lose it. Even though I type like, oh my God, my journal entries on here are like sometimes over 5,000 words. But again, it's Sarah language. It doesn't mean it's coherent. But, thought to myself, am I lazy? Is it just because I just don't feel like doing it? And I think about this morning, all the stuff that I did, like it's 2:40 in the afternoon, and I've been to 2 horse farms, cleaned a whole bunch of stalls, let my friend's dog out, let another dog out. I walked my dog. He came with me to the farm, vacuumed the house, shoveled more snow so the mail person can get in to our mailbox. And then I've got to go let my friend's dog out again. Still haven't eaten today. Like, I definitely have energy to do things. And then I thought a little bit more on like, do I have stuff to say? And, I'll be cleaning stalls and all of this stuff kind of starts like popping up. And I'm like, man, like that would make some pretty cool content to share. And then there will be moments where I sit down to talk and it doesn't want to come through. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I think about the difference between having this in video form versus having it in podcast form. And I think about myself. And I also was thinking about my dopamine receptors and how I can't get satisfied a lot of the times because I'm so used to those instant gratifications and those quick hits, which is why I love reading now and also doing puzzles because like you got to take your time with it. Everything has become a race who could do it the best and who could do it the fastest. Who can get their channel to grow super, super fast, who can get the best content out there, who can have the flashiest thumbnail, who could have the best appearance and everything. And thinking about that even more, that's not me. That is not me. And I don't know about you, friend. Geez, more snow is falling off of the roof of the house. I don't know if anybody heard that. That was interesting. I gotta make sure the car isn't underneath that. Oh man. And anyway, I know when people are using AI generated titles because I have used AI generated titles for, most of last year for my titles because I wanted people to see this, I wanted to reach more people and I also wanted to grow my channel. And now when I see certain titles, I can't help but cringe and be like, "Oof." Like, I'd rather have someone who has a misspelling that it sounds, like, more genuine and authentic. These people that have, like, the arrows and the circles that are just like, "You're missing this one thing in your meditation practice. Do this one thing and you'll understand everything." And I have tried watching those videos. Sometimes they're an hour long, and I leave those videos not understanding a single thing that I had just watched. And I don't wanna be like that as a creator, and not even just a content creator, but a creator as a whole. This world has gotten so noisy, and I don't want to contribute to that kind of noise. And it's kind of a shame because there's a lot of people that I follow who have kind of given way to this because, and I get it. Like, they make a living on here and I don't cast any judgment. I just think about it for myself, and I am working really hard on finding myself and I guess connecting is a better word for it. I want to connect to that deepest part of myself that knows that they know that they know beyond a shadow of a doubt. And so I found myself going back to a lot of podcasts, longer podcasts. I still love listening to No Such Thing as a Fish, favorite podcast ever. I love it so much. My Bialik is one that I really enjoy listening to as well. But I've been listening to a lot of Dr. Joe, and funny enough, some Dr. Wayne Dyer as well. And the two audiobooks that I was listening to really they're really bringing it on home with what it is that I'm going through. And we are so afraid. One of the big themes is we are so afraid of silence. And silence is so powerful. And in a world where everything is so loud, I'm thinking of ways of how to be silent while also being able to share my experiences. So, what I have decided to do, because YouTube for me has become a performance of I got to get the views, and it's just oversaturated with a whole bunch of different stuff. And I had a dream at one point with YouTube where I would make fun little like vlogs and stuff. Not necessarily of me speaking, but like my sister and I, when she and I used to go camping or we would go on vacation and stuff, I would take footage of everything and I'd make like just kind of like a little travel video. And I tried doing it when me and my friend Liz went hiking on the Appalachian Trail. But then I got hurt like 16 hours in and we had to stop and my mom had to come rescue us off of the side of a mountain. It was We took the walk of shame down the mountain onto the highway. It was not fun. But I love doing stuff like that. And like, that's where a lot of my passion lies. And when I think about creating videos, like if I had all the footage, I could easily put something like that out. Like that's fun to me. And I'm not saying that stuff like this isn't fun. I get disappointed in myself because the performer comes out and I don't get to speak authentically. I think about Dr. Joe, Kyle Cease. They are great speakers, but they're also trained because they've been doing this for a very long time. And I am not a trained speaker. And I miss the intimacy of having this content be in podcast form. Because let's face it too, I am a very plain, blonde-headed, blue-eyed girl. That's just kind of it. Like, I love myself so much. But like most people walk by me and don't even like think twice, which is totally fine. And I'm not complaining about that. But when you think about the people who are trying to capture your attention and stuff like that, like I'm not very flashy or showy, nor do I choose to be. Like, I'm still in my barn clothing. And if I was a cartoon character, this is the clothing that I would be wearing like every single day in every single episode because I literally live in this. And like my hair kind of just is what it is. It's gotten so freaking long. Like, I can't believe it. But I miss being able to kind of just like hop in here, throw on the microphone and just share what it is that I'm kind of experiencing without needing to put on a performance, which is having it on, video. And you can also just say like, oh, just like throw it on. There's something with the observer effect that I've noticed with myself because as I'm talking, I'm staring at myself compared to a whole bunch of like waves, and I could get a different kind of camera, but it's so much easier on my phone that I'm recording this on to do it. And there's just something about podcasts And there's something about when I first started this that it had a certain kind of like charm and magic to it, the way that I was able to come across. And for me, podcasting was kind of like a home. Like that's where I started. And I think about where I got the idea for Hey There Friend as well is way back in like 2015, I think. I worked at a gas station and then I quit after 4 years. And then I kind of hopped around to a bunch of different jobs. And then I somehow met a woman and started to pick up dog shit for a living, and it was so much fun, until it got cold and until the check engine light came on my car. But as I was doing this, because it was just me, sometimes my sister learned how to drive with me when we did that. That was fun. But as I drove around and walked and picked up dog shit, I had podcasts in my ear. And that was the first time that I really experienced podcasts. And it was funny because I remember being super low one day and I typed in positive into the search engine and I got Positive Head Podcast and I was hooked. And because it was a spiritual podcast and it was all I could listen to. And it's really funny because I actually ended up working for them as their like podcaster engineer from 2017 with like a slight little break in between up until last year, 2025, when Brandon kind of decided to take a little bit of a break. So I became very well versed in editing, MP3 files, and it was just so much fun to me. It was kind of like a puzzle. And then I had my own podcast that I was doing that was inspired by Brandon and all the other podcasts that I had listened to. And Hey There Friend, because I wanted to be like a friend in your pocket, like all of my psychic teachers was another one that I really loved listening to, like Debbie, oh my God, Debbie Bowen and Samantha Faye. I thought they were great, and they just became like friends, which is what I wanted to be like too. And then I had this idea where I wanted to become a motivational speaker. I loved speaking in front of people, and I loved teaching all of like the metaphysical stuff too. I remember I held court at a Starbucks one day for two people. They were two friends of mine from one of my old farms, and I did this PowerPoint presentation on the law of attraction, and they were two people who didn't really know very much about it, and it was so much fun, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And that's kind of what like this YouTube channel turned into. I had a Snapchat group that was like motivational moments or something, where every single day I'd post motivational things, and it was a lot of fun. But in thinking about frequencies and energies and like what the underlying feeling was behind that, which was I wanted to become someone that would save other people because I wasn't saved when I was younger, who then turned into the person who saved themselves. My aim and goal for this channel has totally changed, along with my definition of friend. When I was a lot younger, up until like my late 20s and stuff, I always thought of having like this one person who was just always there that I could always go to, that would never leave me and just was always open and present and ready to handle just all of my stuff. And as I've gotten older and have traversed so much of this stuff and learned about heavy energy and different friend dynamics and stuff, I've come to realize that for me in my own life, not saying that this isn't a thing, some of that is just not sustainable. I have this one friend that she and I, have known her since 2022. She actually knows me from YouTube, which is really funny. I met her at a Dr. Joe retreat. I've met so many awesome people because of this channel. But she and I were talking every single day for a very long time. And like at the very, very beginning, it's like, wow, like this is so great. Like we've got someone that we could talk to about all this stuff. And then eventually, like the both of us got burnt out and we would take like months apart from talking. And after just coming back from another hiatus, the two of us have learned that sometimes we do a lot more growing apart than we do together. And I think about two of my like biggest teachers who are also friends, that I consider them teachers, but they're more so just friends, how if I were to see them every single day, we would get burnt out because I like taking in the information and then chewing on it quite a bit because, these people help me to become a better person. If I had to go through that every single day, I would become even more anxious because I'd be comparing myself and trying to be like, "Oh, did I do the thing right?" instead of allowing space and time for things to just settle. And so my idea of friend has changed. And with that has changed my how I want to show up for this podcast, which is why I want to switch to podcasting form and not post on YouTube anymore. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't want to be a motivational speaker anymore either. I what I really would love to be is kind of like with what I would have needed at the very beginning, which is a very grounded person that you kind of just like you bump into. Like if you're on the street and like you kind of just like see someone and you're just like, hey friend, like hey there friend, like, and you guys kind of like wax poetic about some things and then like you kind of just like carry on, but then something about you has changed because you had that interaction with that person, but it wasn't necessarily because of that person, it was just a realization that you had. Like, that's kind of what I want to be. I want to be the mediator and like a mirror as well for you to realize your own greatness, friend, without needing to rely on somebody else. Because I am someone, again, who was very, very, very reliant on other people and friends, especially for emotional regulation. As I was going through things, I had, my best friend was in grad school for being a therapist, which was really funny, psychology. And there were times where like I would ask her because I wouldn't want to overstep the boundary, but, like, because she knew a lot about, like, CBT and DBT and all the other alphabet things to other letters, I would go to her for a lot of stuff, and I would become rather dependent upon her. And I know for me right now, where I'm at in my journey, I can't hold the world up. I can barely hold myself up most days. Like, being able to get on here, I've been wanting to get on here and speak for a long time, but, more time needed to elapse, more information had to come through. There is a lot of power in the phrase "I don't know" and also "not yet." And I'm learning all about that. There's also, like I said, so much power in silence and stillness. You know, I was listening to, it was the Dr. Wayne Real Magic book where he was talking about music. And it's not necessarily the music itself that we love, but rather the silence in between. Because if it was all music all the time, we wouldn't be able to appreciate it. We need the silence in order to contrast it? So, anyway, with that being said, what I really would love to do is to create more long form content because, again, they say with YouTube, it needs to be 15 minutes and concise and bullet points and all of this stuff. That is not me. I don't belong in any box whatsoever, let alone that kind of box. I love podcasting because you can just put me on in the car and I get you from destination to destination or whatever it is you're doing, walking with a friend, whatever it is. There's just something so intimate that I love about podcasts. And it's really funny because my mom will say to people, "Oh, Sarah's got her own podcast." And I'm like, "It's a YouTube channel." And even like I've gone back and forth. Like I didn't post in podcast form and then I went back to it. And again, you could be like, you could do both of them. It's so much work to then have to go through, rewatch all of this, incorporate some other stills and stuff, and then having to come up with a description and a thumbnail. That is for me right now with what I'm experiencing, precious energy that I could be putting into other things to then create, an episode in podcast form that, could resonate even greater than this one. But this is just kind of an explanation as to the next chapter that I am looking to pursue in my life, which is essentially the death of the performer. Like, I'm done performing. I am so over performing for other people and having to be over accountable for their shit. Like, I'm done holding up the world for, like, where I am. Like, I really would love to show people how great they truly are through my own experiences. Like, don't believe anything. Do your own research. Don't believe anything I say. You know, if something resonates with you, fantastic. Pursue it and see what other information you can find. Dr. Wayne Dyer was talking. My chiropractor's name is Dr. Wayne. It's so funny. Um, Going through and listening to Dr. Wayne today, he was talking about, I think, what Buddha had said about information, which is don't believe any of it. And it's a knowing. Like, you can believe something, but until you experience it yourself, it's just a belief. It's not a knowing. And from when I share my experiences, it's from a knowing. I used to teach from a belief. I used to teach from a belief. I used to. I used to. I don't want to teach from belief anymore. I want to teach from my own knowing, but it is my knowing. It's mine, from my truth, from my vantage point and my perspective. which means it is then up to you to take this information and apply it to your own life, whatever it is, and try it on for yourself. And it might not work for you, and that is absolutely beautiful. You know one more thing about yourself, and that is if there were anything I were to tell you about anything in life, any secrets or whatever, it is all about your connection to yourself. You figured that out, you got everything. And that's kind of what has been put up for me right now. That's the next thing that I'm really, I don't want to say working on, embodying. That's the next thing that I'm really embodying is that deeper understanding and connection to the self. Because when you know who you are, you know and you understand everything. If you want to change the world, it starts with changing yourself. And we are in the age of information. Everything is available for you, to you. That's how I got to where I am. I'm unique, I guess you could say, but I'm not special. And special in the point where, like, I woke up one day and Big Dog was just like, here's all this information. Like, I had to work to get here. It was worth it. It was a lot of fun. It was really fucking hard. It was very challenging. However, all of this stuff is really simple. It's just not easy, but it is obtainable. And this is the journey. Because if you had all this already and it wasn't this big fun puzzle that we're going through, what's the point of living? You know? But it's fun, and I'm so excited to see what comes next. So this is my last video for the time being. Maybe from time to time, if the spirit moves me, I might come back on here into YouTube form. And I want to thank every single one of you who have been with me on my YouTube endeavor from the very beginning. And even if you just, hopped on last month or from the last video or something like that, I appreciate just all of your views and all of your support. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just changing form. Kind of like energy. Can't be created or destroyed. It just gets like redistributed. So I'm just redistributing myself into a different platform. So I will have the link for all of the podcasting stuff in the description. You can find me Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever other podcasting thing is out there. I don't know, except for SoundCloud, because I'm not paying for that. Screw that. And I have no idea what the frequency at which I'm going to be distributing episodes are. So just go follow it. It's Hey There Friend. If you type that in, you'll see a picture of me with red hair and like 20 pounds lighter from 2021. But yeah, I'm really excited to keep growing with you, friend. And I hope that you'll join me. Again, just kind of like a in passing thing. We are here to, as they say, walk each other home. I'm here to just kind of say some words and then just let you thrive. I'm so excited to experience you thriving in your own ways and to discover even more about yourself. It's going to be a really awesome journey. And with that, friend, no matter what, just promise me you'll keep singing. Okay, friend?